I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. My next guest made a huge call back when I interviewed him on February 7th. The day of this interview is now August 7th, 7 months to the day. 7 months to the day of that last big interview that he's been on before, but he made a huge call. That was, we're going to be in a new era of time. He also said the market was top end. We're going to have 35 to 40% down, check, done. It's going to go back up, check, done. He was expecting another sell-off. Hasn't happened yet, but he did say gold was going to go up, 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 up. It's never going to look back. And his name is Bo Polny. Okay, he's got gold2020forecast.com. But before we get to Bo Polny, I just wanted to give this a little bit of background here, a peg that happened on this past week. And it's Donald Trump at Maytag. I heard him say this, and he says, "This may be the last time you see me for a while. You know, a lot of rich people are mad at me." I'm paraphrasing, but these are the words he used. And he says, "I'm the only president that can get this done." And then we have another story breaking, and this is about the title here on Zero Hedge's ex-colleagues see Durham dropping bombshells before Labor Day. Well, one of the things that Bo Polny said was September is going to be very turbulent. I'll stop talking. Let's bring on Bo Polny, analyst. Bo Polny, analyst of time. He has biblical timing for his psycho work. The brilliant guy made huge calls. A lot of people have been wanting you back on. I'm sorry, long introduction, right? Bo Polny, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Greg, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I think you are one of the most amazing people on YouTube, and thank you for everything that you do. And I'm sure everybody, I watch your weekly updates, and they are beyond compare. They're truly spectacular. So thank you for what you do, Greg. Today I'm really excited to chat with you and speak with you about what is coming here into the very near future. Again, for those who don't know what I do biblical analysis, and then what I really do is I take the Bible, I take cycle time points written within the Bible, and I overlay those time points on present day markets. As crazy as it sounds, I've developed probably one of the largest cryptocurrency and gold followings probably in the world. Our analysis, for those who follow us, it's been rather incredibly accurate. And the gold analysis since I've been on with you, Greg, has been incredible. I was with you here in February, 7 months to the day today, from the actual interview of February. And at that time, gold was $1,557. Today, it's over $2,000. And on that interview, it's very simple, and I'm going to lay out the charts for you as well too from that interview and from present day. I said gold's going to be over $2,000 easily August into September, and we're not even into September yet. So the moves for gold are still coming. We've only seen the start, and it's going to be incredibly exciting what is coming for our world. And most importantly, these biblical time points that I'm referencing, there's one coming in September, and that is dated the 18th of September. So I just want to encourage all of your viewers to spend the time, listen to our presentation today. I've included a PDF presentation, which again, I do not need to do. I do it because I want to put a message out to the world. I am not a prophet, but I am a messenger. And I want to let people know of things that are coming, because things have been written by God from the beginning, and we're not changing the outcome. The end is already written from the beginning. And so it's important to know where we are relative to things that are coming. Go ahead, Greg.
The 33-page PowerPoint presentation you did, that's in the after the interview section. We're going to be overlaying some of these PowerPoint presentations as well. And I want to start with this, ex-colleagues see Durham dropping bombshells before Labor Day. Then there's a Texas prosecutor, I think his name is Bush. He's a Texas prosecutor, federal prosecutor. I don't know exactly what his name is. Anyway, he is looking at this unmasking of people. General Michael Flynn unmasked 38 times by 48 people. That's felony stuff. And then you have the president, which is unbelievable, unreal. They saying that you may not see me for a while. That almost sounds like bunker mentality. I mean, what are you seeing in the charts that could, that it could be confirming what the president's saying? I heard him say it. I may not see you for a while. I have a lot of rich enemies. We only have one chance to do this. I'm thinking, what is going on? I heard him say it. It was at Whirlpool, speech at Whirlpool. What do you think's going on?
Well, think about this, Greg. So cycles I've written in my reports for years now. Cycles precede events, all events. Okay, so the cycle itself for gold, when I was with you in February, has an up cycle. When you look at my charts from February, we have March, April, May, June, July, August. Every single month so far has been up for gold. Why? Because it was already written within the cycle. And the best part is we haven't even seen the move into September yet. So the gold particularly is supposed to, at this point in time, continue vertical into September. And there's a key date coming in September, which my subscribers all have. But the point is the cycle time point gold will not stop until it hits its high or its peak in September. Now, why would anybody want to buy gold? What is gold? This is the most important question to ask yourself. It is a hedge against the dollar, yes, but against something more powerful. It's against government. It's a hedge against government. So if gold keeps exploding and going vertical, you're taking a hedge against the dollar, yes, but you're also it's a bigger hedge against confidence within the government. So if gold's going up, there is something big going down. That's as far as I can tell you right now. That the cycle into September is up for gold, and it's not going to stop. So exciting times are coming for us who are in the gold market. We have waited for this point for 9 years. It's been forever. But again, if you look at my prior presentation, we have the vortex mouth basically showing that a 9-year cycle is a completionary pattern, meaning that by September, we're supposed to be at new all-time highs, and we're beyond that already. As of close on Friday, gold closed at $2,030.
And this is all part of, you got this, we're going to take this a little bit out of date here, but this is all part of the cycle of the Noah's Ark cycle, and the 21st of April, I believe, when the rain started, the door closed on the Ark.
The presentation itself is called Countdown to Victory. The presentation point that we can actually start at would be page number 3, which is actually Noah's cycles. The door closed on Noah. If we use the same cycle, biblical cycle for Noah, gold closed the door on Noah. That would reference the key point of April 21st. From April 21st, the next key cycle point is 150 days, which would take us to September 18th of 2020. What is the probability that when I run the Noah cycle from the 21st, when oil went to zero, because we knew that, and this was actually incredible too, because when you go to my prior interview of February, Greg, what do we say? That something epic goes down on the 20th and the 21st of April. Well, what happened? On top of the market crash of 38% in March, we had oil going to negative 38 on the 20th into the 21st of April. That was the first time in history oil ever went negative or below 0 to 0. That was a critical key point, and that key time point was foretold way back in February. Now from that, and that was using Noah's time cycle. So the next critical key time point is 150 days forward, which takes us to September again 18th. Well, guess what? What is the probability that would line up to being one of the most epic and important time points in the Hebrew calendar? That lines up to precisely Rosh Hashanah. So let me read this about Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah commemorates the creation of the world and marks the beginning of the 10 days of awe, introspection, and repentance that culminates into Yom Kippur holiday, also known as the Day of Atonement, the holiest day of the year. The purpose of Yom Kippur is to atone, make amends with God for sins committed against him. Now, if there was ever a point in our world where this phrase of 10 days of awe would be truly a 10 days of awe, It's possibly this September. So,
what 10 days of the 10 days off? 18th to what, 28th?
18th. So through the 28th, looks like would be the 10 days of awe. If there is ever a time point in the world where 10 days could be truly epic and spectacular for this world, it's this September. So all I can tell you is cycles precede events. The cycle for gold is up. And Noah's cycle lands on September 18th, Rosh Hashanah. We got 10 days of awe coming. I don't know what's coming, but let me tell you, something epic's about to happen. And gold, with especially silver, they're going to continue to progress higher. And following the 10 days of awe, the next Noah cycle takes us 370 days forward, and that would take us all the way to April 26th of 2021.
And let's just go to page number 9, Countdown to Victory,
right, yeah.
Divine
So
Timeline Summary.
So page 9 is a summary of page 3, and it's a drawn out summary, so you can see it visually. At the very top of the chart, you'll see that the old world that you knew. So the world that we knew, that we grew up with, it's finished, Greg. That's
the 21st of April.
Okay?
Let me get in here with you. That was a monster call, not just the market's going to crash. Okay, it did. That gold was going to go up. Yeah, it did every month since you came on. But new era of time on the 21st of April, oil zero. The contract expires at negative 38 or 37, something like that. I mean, unbelievable. Never happened before. And now you're saying that the period isn't really it's the transition in the new era of time.
That is
and it
correct,
goes on all the way until you got April 26th, 2021.
Life is not a switch in God's world. So it's not on the 21st of April. Life doesn't change on the 22nd, okay? There's a transition period. For the same reason, think about this. Noah was on the ark for an entire year, a little bit more than a year, before he actually stepped off the ark with his family, with all the animals, and that date would equate to the 26th of 2021. But that, when he stepped off the ark, was when he stepped into a new world, a new era. If that wasn't a delineation point for a new era, exactly what is? Okay, so even though the old world we knew is finished and over, we're in a transition point, and we really haven't seen this new world yet because we're in the transition point. And think about, in a transition point, you still have these people that have been trying to run the world still in power. So between now and the 21st of April, much epic changes still have to occur, because when Noah steps off the ark, that old world was finished. So again, do expect immense changes. I believe and I do feel that September 18th of this year is going to be pretty epic. Now let's backtrack on page 8. This is the Daniel cycle, okay?
Yes.
So Daniel cycle, how cool is this? So everybody was talking about Pentecost and something. Remember my last interview? Something wonderful is supposed to happen, right? That was the title of my last presentation. Well, what was it? Let me answer your question. If we use the Daniel's timeline cycle, from the 21st of April, we add 30 days. That takes us to May 21 of 2020. Check this out. This is incredible. What is the probability that a dam breaks in a town in Michigan called Edenville, in the township of Hope? This was not a coincidence. Water breaking is the first step of birth, correct?
Yep.
Following water breaking, you have birth. 10 days later, April 21st plus 40 days from the 21st, or 10 days later from the 21st of May, takes us to May 31, 2020, which is Pentecost. On that date was the birth of the latter temple. What is a latter temple? It talks about in Haggai 2.9. It says, the glory of the latter temple will be greater than that of the former, says the Lord of hosts. My point is, on the 31st of May, 2020, we experienced the birth of the latter church. And that actually equated to Pentecost. So the water breaks. 10 days later, we have childbirth. What is birth? We have the birth of God's church on the earth. So we have the birth of the latter temple on this earth. Now, what happened on the 31st? What would evil do if God raises his church, raises the latter temple? What would evil do on that date? How about freak out? How about go crazy? How about riot? That is when the U.S. riots began. Coincidence? I think not.
Wow. And just so people know, too, I want to make sure I get this in here. Just so people go, well, isn't Christ going to return? Oh, yeah, you believe Christ is going to return. You got a timeline.
Let's actually do this for a second, Greg. Let's go to page 6 and let's talk about Christ. Okay?
Good for me.
So everyone who's watched my interviews has known the cycle of 124 or 421. This is a biblical cycle, and it adds up to a number 7. This is also discussed in detail by a prophet by the name of Lois Vogel Sharp. This 421 cycle has been written from the back to the front, okay? It's 4,000 years. The first 4,000 years starts with creation to the birth of Christ. That's the time of the Jews. From that time point at 0 is when Christ was born on apparently 9/11 on a crescent moon, 3 BC. Now, 3 BC forward, we know that Christ died at age 33. So that would take it to 30 AD. So Christ's death and then resurrection would have been on 30 AD. And then the next cycle is a 2,000-year cycle. It's 4,000, 2,000. The 2,000-year cycle would take us from 0 to the year 2000. But remember, Christ died and was resurrected on 30 AD. That would take us all the way to 2030. So right now, we're 10 years shy for a potential return of Christ. If there's a second Daniel cycle, that would take us to 2037, but no further. My point is, it is possible to calculate, and the calculations I have here, I tell you, you will find out are extremely accurate. Right now, we're at 1,990 years. We are 10 years shy of 2030. And so we are presently in the time of the Gentiles. Now, the 421 cycles, 4,000, 2,000, 1,000, we're still missing. And then the last cycle is a 1,000-year cycle. We know that for a fact because that from the royal wedding, which is the return of Christ, and then return to Eden, because that's basically where we're headed. Notice the flood at Edenville, birth. So now we're going all the way back to Eden and victory. The 1,000 years, the last 1,000 years is a time of the Jews and the Gentiles become one with Christ, and that is the millennial Sabbath for 1,000 years. So this is the actual cycle calculation for Christ's return. Now, I know immediately people are going to say, yeah, but it says in the Bible, no one knows the date or the hour. Okay, so let's go to page 7, and I want to answer that question because people don't read the details. It's all in the details. I give you Matthew 24:36, Matthew 24:42, and Matthew 24:44. And you will notice the specific use of the words day and hour. What's missing?
Year,
month, maybe even week, and season. So to think that God would do all of this and not give hints and clues within the Bible for his church is ridiculous. To think that God doesn't have prophets on this earth is ridiculous, because it says in the Bible that God will do nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets. It also says in the Bible, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to search it out.
So you don't pretend to know the day or the hour. You're just saying, hey, here's the time frame, folks. This is when it's just going to likely happen based on biblical timing. The time
exactly.
Frame. You're getting the season, right? The season.
That's right, exactly.
Right.
So I'm not giving the day or the hour because no one knows it. Just like I didn't know the day or the hour of the crash, Greg, but I knew the month. that it was going to happen, or by a time frame. So the point is,
so what's the time frame for Christ's return? Let's get back to that. What's the time?
So Christ's return, we're potentially as early as 2030, no later than 2037, but probably somewhere earlier rather than later.
So you got a 7-year spread.
7-year spread, if there's a spread. Okay, we don't know that, but we'll know. And then as the time gets closer, we'll know for sure, because as time gets closer, the calculations get easier, if that makes sense. So right now.
But you'll never know the day or the hour.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, but I can tell you this in this presentation, my whole point of the presentation is to wake the church up, because let me tell you, as I talked in prior videos, Greg, we have only 3.5 to 4 years max left before it's going to get really ugly. And you're either prepared or you're not prepared, because in the time of Joseph, there was a thing called the famine. And guess what's coming? Another famine. So if you think there's going to be food in the stores and the crops are going to be all great and everything, it ain't going to happen. It happened before, and it's going to happen again. So we are coming into the time of Joseph, where basically there's going to be 7 years of plenty, and we're halfway through that.
And then this is why you're saying Trump gets reelected.
Correct. So let's continue on.
Okay, I want to stop here. I want to fast forward. I'm sorry. And the reason why, because I started this presentation with the president saying, I don't know when I'm going to see you again. Like, a lot of rich people who hate me. A lot of rich people. There's only one chance to do this. And so, but if you go to page 16, this is, I want you to talk about page 16 on your PowerPoint presentation. I think this is very interesting. And it has to do with right now. So talk about page 16 on your PowerPoint, Countdown to Victory, Evils, Hatred of Trump.
So this is actually very powerful. Please think about the moment that Christ walked into the temple and started flipping all the money tables. Let me ask you a question. Do you think all those people were happy, or were they freaking out? Think about that for just a second. Now, let me read this to you. Trump, like Christ, is overturning the money tables. The present-day money tables are Big Pharma, the Federal Reserve, government agencies, politicians, fake news, China, the trade deal and intellectual property, the pedophiles, the drug cartels, and the like, who have, this is key, who have all been working together quietly for generations, and now they are losing money. It's all about the money, and Trump is turning the tables on them, and they hate him.
Oh boy, that's powerful. That's some powerful. That pretty much sums it up, and it looks like, I know you don't have any inside information here, but just your thoughts on him. Well, I'm not going to see you for a while. It sounds like bunker mentality to me. What? Given your charts and what you're thinking with gold skyrocketing, or having a big month, and then he's going to stop and come back. That's not going to be it. It's going to go on. It's going to correct and then come back and go on after that. But give me your feeling on the Trump. I'm not going to see you for a while. Given your chart work, what do you think?
Well, gold itself has an upcycle. It's going to pull back possibly in October, and then after that, it's off to the races again. Gold has a multi-year upcycle. So there's a lot of power to the upside for gold. We actually haven't even seen we haven't seen the bull market breakout yet. We've only seen new highs in gold. We haven't seen a bull market in gold yet. So as crazy as the prices are right now, we haven't seen, this is not the bull market that I'm actually waiting for. The bull market comes next year. So there's a lot of things that are about to happen. The cycle itself foretells and predicts that Trump has a cycle number 2. Actually, we can talk about that.
Well, also, while we're talking about gold, let's talk about silver on page 18 of your PowerPoint. It says 2021, new era and silver. Talk about that.
This is the prophecy for gold and for silver. Gold goes off the charts, and silver becomes a new item of economic security that opens a new door to luxury for those who have attained this precious metal.
Wow.
So if you think that silver is expensive at 30, at 40, at 50, the numbers for silver are going to be triple digits, maybe even 4 digits. Most likely, this indicates 4 digits. The cycle for gold and silver for the 3rd and 4th quarter of 2021 are epic.
Mm-hmm.
If gold and silver are going crazy in the third and fourth quarter of 2021, then you have to ask yourself, why? And what's opposite that? How about the dollar? How about bonds? These are all the paper assets that have been used for generations. And we're about to see a new era come online next year. We're in transition now. So if you're positioned for what's coming, you will at least have choices in life. Those who refuse to listen and do nothing will have few choices. So there isn't much more to say about silver except that silver itself is going to be the item of economic security that opens the door to luxury for those who have prepared.
Okay. Thanks for putting all these charts in and doing all this work on the PowerPoint. Again, the PowerPoint is in the after the interview section. Incidentally, this is totally free. You don't have to spend this much time. You have a whole total business on gold and silver and Bitcoin, which you've been pretty killing it on, especially your Bitcoin. I've had people write me on YouTube saying, Bo's killing it on Bitcoin. So, but anyway, where do you want to go next?
Let's go to page 10. 10 was actually covered in prior interviews. On that page, looking at the bottom of it, number 7. Daniel gave a prophecy to Nebuchadnezzar, and he basically interpreted a dream, which is incredible, but he did. This was done 2,600 years ago.
And this is on page 10.
Page 10.
Okay.
The dream itself talks about how God wrote everything from the beginning. This is a 7,000-year cycle. Again, 4,000, 2,000, 1,000. So it's a 7,000-year cycle. And it finishes with all these kingdoms that have been on this earth. Every one of them get knocked down by a stone. And we're going to go to page 11 for that. And let me describe what the stone is. As you look, a stone was cut out, not by a human hand, and it struck the image at its feet of iron and clay and broke it into pieces, bringing them to an end. And it, which is the 7th kingdom, shall stand forever. This is the prophecy of Daniel. In Revelation 20:40 states, Christ the King will reign with his bride in this kingdom for 1,000 years. So this is the Jews and the Gentiles come together with Christ in the millennial Sabbath for 1,000 years. So all the kingdoms get knocked down. My point of this presentation again is everything you're looking at today, it all changes. Okay, this story was written 6,000 years ago, and we're coming into the last 1,000 years. So again, it's so critical to prepare. And then we go to page 12. What is President Trump's role in all this? This further confirms that all of this was written from the beginning. None of this is a coincidence, including the biblical cycle that I just described earlier in reference to Noah's Ark. Trump's role in the cycle, no, this is rather incredible. He was born June 14th, 1946, on a blood moon over Israel. Coincidence? I don't think so. Now, 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days to the exact day, he has his first day as president of the United States on January 21st, 2017. Again, coincidence? I don't think so. That's 777. So who is Trump? Trump is sounding the trumpet for the second coming of Christ.
Yeah.
He was appointed and groomed by God for such a time as this. The evil one and his followers, as of May 31st, 2020, which is Pentecost, that was the date of the birth of the latter temple, are in panic. This is what we're seeing on the streets right now.
Yeah.
For they know that their days to kill, steal, and destroy are numbered. Page 13.
Go ahead.
We've all seen the Trump hat, Make America Great Again. Guess what? It's over. That cycle finished on April 21st with oil going to zero. The next Trump cycle began on April 21st. It ends on December 17th of 2023. Trump cycle number 2 is titled Make America Blessed Again.
Ah, love it.
Okay? Blessing is coming, but the great cycle is finished. Now, let me read this to you. The time of prosperity for those who have listened and prepared with gold and silver, and at the same time, it's a time of scarcity for those who have unprepared with hyperinflation beginning in quarter 3 and 4 of 2021 and sooner. Okay, so we'll see it sooner, but it's going to go into full effect in the latter part of 2021 as the Federal Reserve dollar falls and the world comes into a new system of backed by gold and silver. So 2021 is going to be truly epic because we're officially in the new era by the end of April of next year. So everything changes into April, actually after April of next year. Now, the big thing everybody's scared about is America being destroyed. Now, this is directly from Lois Vogel Sharp. This is really important to listen to because America will not be destroyed. I want to read this to you. America was founded under God with more Christians than anywhere in the world. So ask yourself a question. Why exactly would God destroy that? Since there's more Christians here than anywhere in the world, it ain't going to happen. So what is destruction for? What is it, the words of destruction? Who is it for? Destruction is only for the evil one. Countries run by the evil one. Cities, even within the USA, that are run by the evil one. And followers of the evil one. That's who destruction is for. America will fall, but not to say that America won't fall. Yes, America will fall. So we have not seen the crash yet. Okay, so America will fall and America will repent for all the child murders, the abortions, and Trump will bring the economy back and fix this mess. His job is to come back and fix the mess. So that is his appointed job here on this earth. Page 16 we've discussed, and that's basically why Trump is hated by all of evil, because he's going against them. He's going against the money changers. We can discuss gold and silver. This page 17 is actually from our February interview. Basically stated in February that between May 31st, which was Pentecost, into September 18th, a gold rush begins. Well, I think we're already seeing that, aren't we?
And
we're 5 months up in a row since our interview, Greg.
Yeah, and let me just say, I've had people tell me, I'm gonna put this out here because I caught a lot of crap for putting you on, and I didn't care because you made some big calls. You made some big calls all along the way. Gold at 1045. It would never turn back. It's not going to go to 600. You made other big, multiple big calls. You missed along the way because, they just so much intervention in crippling evil.
Well, the only thing I've ever missed that are just horribly missed a few times was the stock market crash.
Yeah, I got that.
But the gold cycle, I want to be very clear. The gold cycle has been just chugging along.
Bitcoin too.
That has not been broken.
Yeah.
So I want to be very clear about the mistakes and any errors was because trying to predict Satan's stock market.
Yeah. Satan's correct. So you had a few bad, which you own up to, which is great. My line was always to people at some point, he's going to be fabulously right. Ding, 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 ding. Fabulously correct is what you've been. I mean, this new era of time thing is a monster. Bigger call than any gold, silver, stock market, up, down, whatever. New era of time. Wow, what a call.
And the cool thing is we still have cycle points. So I'm giving you key dates that are biblical dates. These time points that I'm giving, like September and ones later into the future, this next September date has been verified and cross-referenced with my gold cycle. And so I know they're 100% valid. So that's the exciting part. So on page 17, see, I don't care what price is in September or next year. I just know the direction, I know dates, and I know when tops and bottoms are expected. So my point is, into September, cycles are up. I think minimum target by September, 2,500, 2,500 possibly on gold. Now if it blows up, we can go to 3,000. But again, I don't care because I know it's going to back off and then go higher again. So by end of the year, we'll be way higher than we were in September for where gold ends up in September. Silver, think about this, Greg. When gold was $1,900 in 2011, silver was $42 or $45. Even though it topped out early at $49, it's still, when gold was $1,900, silver was $45. Okay, so at 28 today or whatever closed at, whatever closed on Friday at 28.
28,
that's still $12 to $15 cheaper than it was in 2011 when gold was at this price. My point is silver is still a steal. So I still think silver at 65 to my next Fibonacci, Fibonacci's come in around $65, maybe a little bit higher on silver. So we could see that as early as September, but for sure before the end of the year. But if we see 60s in September, oh my gosh, we're probably going to go to 3 digits into the end of the year. So it's going to be really fun to watch it. But none of this is even important because silver turns into rocket fuel in 2021, in the real bull market that we're waiting for. So we ain't seen nothing yet. Page 19 is actually the exact chart that I gave you, Greg, on February 7th of 2020 when we did our first interview saying the markets are going to crash. You can actually see this is a 1-2-4 cycle, 4-2-1. It ends with and then we have the shift cycle at 9, and then we go back to 1-2-4, 4-2-1. And what does it say? It says on or before April 21, the stock market could and should crash down to potentially. The line comes in at about a 35% crash, and it happened exactly a month before. So it happened before April 21, and the stock market dropped down to was a 38% market crash. So we were within 3% of where it ended up for a low. So as crazy as this chart sounded in our interview in February, it actually foretold of a massive market crash coming before April. And the event of April 21 was actually not the stock market, it was in fact oil. So the cycles, again, tell you critical key dates. So the April 21 date was the date for oil. If we then go to page 20, well, this is the next cycle for the stock market. So if we run the 4-2-1, 1-2-4 cycle forward, that takes us all the way to May, June of 2021, saying that potentially the stock market could go down as far as 48% down to a target of maybe 15,000 on the Dow. My point is this, whether this chart outplays exactly or it's the next chart on page 21, which takes us to December of 2022, which is what also I showed you in our February interview. Bottom line is whether it's the cycle on page 20 or whether it's a cycle on page 21 or whether it's both, and it could be, probably is, all I can tell you is we have not seen the crash.
Wow.
The crash of 2020, March, was a foreshadowing and a prelude of the crash that's coming. And do I care what the stock market's going to do and what number it's going to go to? Truly, no, I don't care anymore. We've had the crash that I needed. After that crash of March, all I really care about, and is what I've always cared about, is watching the precious metals, gold and silver, and the cryptocurrencies. And I can tell you that chaos is coming. We have not seen the great crash yet. You need to brace yourself, prepare yourself. But for those of you that are in the stock market think that everything's fine, it's not. Because with the big crash not here yet, gold and silver going up, gold and silver are going to continue to get more and more expensive. And so at what point do you decide to get in is your choice. But I can tell you these prices that things are at right now, gold just over 2,000, silver just under 30, soon enough will never be seen again. And prices are going to continue to explode higher. And so at what point do you ask yourself, will I be prepared? Page 22 talks about San Francisco. A great shaking is coming to San Francisco. So those of you in San Francisco, your child murders, abortion, which is San Francisco is one of the major abortion places in the world, and perversions have not gone unnoticed in the sight of God. So I tell you, San Francisco, unless you repent, I believe there's going to be a big shaking coming to San Francisco. Be prepared. Page 23, this is a slide that we've actually had in a prior interview. A part of the great deception, all of these things coming upon the earth, Greg, aliens are directly related to what's going down in this earth because aliens will be a direct part of the great deception that's coming upon the earth. That is why we're now starting to see more and more clips and edits and stuff on YouTube about aliens. And that's all a part of end times.
But beginning in 2024, you're talking about famine here. That's your next slide. And
right, exactly.
Right now, we're going to have a good. It looks like I'm just going to tell you what I'm seeing in farm country because I'm a farm boy. Looks like we're going to have a good crop year unless we have hail or a massive locust or something. But it looks like this year's going to be a good crop year. But people shouldn't be lulled into a sense of complacency. Jonathan Cahn is talking about praying. And praying now, not waiting till this gets to awful times. You're saying that we still have some good years left in time of what do you call it, plenty, or a time of
yes,
yeah,
time of plenty. Yeah. So that takes us to slide 24, Greg, because basically beginning in 2024, that is near the end of the Trump second term. 2024, this is from a cycle calculation. The beginning in 2024, this is when at some point in 2024, whether it's early part of the year or a little bit later, we begin to see the opening of the fourth seal. The fourth seal is famine. As the fourth seal opens in Revelation, the tides turn into waves of poverty and famine, pestilence, as crops fail, chaos continues, and the world continues to fall apart. So beginning in 2024, and onward starts to get more and more of a problem on this earth. Between now, we're in 2020, and then going in the rest of 2020, we have 21, 22, 23. So we have basically 3.5 years still to prepare for things that are coming. Next, I wanted to talk about page 25, and that is about the Antichrist kingdom. So again,
hold on a minute. Before you go in there, Antichrist kingdom. Let me back up here because people are probably thinking, so after 2024, do the Democrats take over? I mean, do we get these evil weasels, ruling us, or do we just get a good ruler in very bad times?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I would assume that the blessings that we're having with Trump go away. Because as Trump is ending his second term, blessings potentially would go away, because if we're going to head into a time of famine. Now, it doesn't have to be in January. It could be middle of 2024. Well, I don't know, but I can tell you that if blessings start to go away, that is then pointing to the 7 years of famine beginning. Now, the Antichrist kingdom is actually would lay over with what's called the Daniel's timeline, again, because it repeats itself. So
how long does this weasel Antichrist get to rule?
Well, it's actually a 7-year pattern. It's a 7-year cycle. So and he gets authority in the last 3.5 of the cycle. If we look at that,
and you're not a rapture guy. You don't believe that we get taken out of here. Jack Van
Yes,
Eppie,
we do.
Oh, you do.
Actually, we do. But it'll be and I'll talk about this as well. Be a post-trib rapture, and I'm telling you. All of the people who are pre-trib, mid-trib will all be proven wrong, and for the same reason that Noah didn't get raptured off and all the animals, okay, until the very end he got into the ark, okay. Oh. So we're basically replaying what happened in the time of Noah. Okay, so
that's right. Christ does say it'll be as in the days of Noah.
Of Noah, exactly. Oh, okay. And so what's going to happen is we're going to talk in the very end of this about the safe havens, because the safe havens are nothing but arks of safety that God will put His protection over. And so those within the arks of safety, who's in there? God's church, God's bride. And He's going to be protecting His bride who are in the arks of safety. These arks of safety will be scattered around the earth. And now actually, let me backtrack, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Okay.
So they don't have total control of what's going on.
Correct. That's what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about, so even though the Antichrist kingdom will be on the earth.
Well, hold on a minute.
It's not going to be everywhere.
Okay, hold on. It says no man will buy or sell without the mark of the beast. How's that play?
Okay,
I'm not arguing with you. I'm sure people are asking, well, how does that work out?
Yeah, these are great questions, because if you're in the city, You're 100% right, Greg, because if you're in the city and you want to buy stuff, you will not be able to buy stuff without the mark of the beast. But the safe havens will be safely tucked away in the mountains with people growing their own food, having everything that they need, and being blessed by God. So they will be separate from the kingdom. They will be separate from the Antichrist kingdom that is on the earth. So there will be a delineation of what's going on. And think about even present day with the craziness going on. You're starting to see people leave New York. You're starting to see people leave these big cities because the big cities are only going to get more crazy, and the people who are godly will leave because they don't want any part of this. And we're going to have the means to do it because what's happening with gold and silver right now? It's starting to shoot up. Why is God raising because what is gold and silver? God's money. Why is God and Christ raising God's money?
Now
because he wants to prosper his church.
All right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, but I'm not the devil, and I know you're not the devil. But so some people would say, well, this really isn't in the Bible, arcs of safety. That's not really it says no man will be able to buy or sell in the Antichrist kingdom, and you're saying that only applies to the Antichrist kingdom.
That's correct. That applies to the people who choose to be a part of it. If you have a choice, just like taking the mark of the beast, it's a choice. They can't force you to take the mark of the beast because to take the mark of the beast, you must renounce Christ. Period. So if you're going to renounce Christ, then you're accepting the Antichrist kingdom. Do you understand that it's a clear delineation? What we're seeing happen on this earth right now is gray is going away.
No, you're either with Christ or you're against Christ.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the lukewarm Christians are going away. The lukewarm Christians will be forced and are now and going forward will continue to be forced to make a choice. So as the Antichrist kingdom becomes more powered on this earth, so will God's church become more powered. And so there will be less and less gray. It's going to be black and white. And so those who are stuck and choose to be in the cities, unfortunately, will be having some very difficult times. Those who have prepared and are out of the cities will be blessed and actually live in places of paradise. They're actually going to be very, very beautiful places. And so I want to kind of backtrack here. Let's continue with the presentation. Okay. Let's get to page 25, because the Antichrist kingdom is really important to understand, and this relates to the building of the third temple. My math shows, I could be off, but my best math right now shows that the temple potentially, construction should start on the temple in the year 2024 possibly. If that be the case, then that actually, makes the likelihood of earlier, for Christ to return in the earlier side of it, maybe in the 2030s, in that year area. So it's critical to watch when the construction of the temple begins. But in order for that to happen, you have to have the Temple Mount destroyed. So we'll see what happens, but it's a very biblical time window that we're heading into. The Antichrist kingdom is an attempt to unite, and I use the words the U.S. government with the papacy, with Islam, and through all of love is what they're going to try to use. We should all just love one another. But Isaiah clearly wrote, temple itself is no longer necessary. So the building of it, and that's,
what do you mean by that?
The temple itself was for sacrifice for Christ, for God. Okay, and then once Christ came on the earth, he was a sacrificial lamb. So Christ fulfilled Isaiah 53. And it's called the hidden chapters of Isaiah because basically the Hebrew side, the Jews don't want to look at Isaiah 53 or they're related to something else. But Isaiah clearly wrote and he clearly described who the Christ would be, all of the things within what he would experience and how his death would be. All of it was clearly delineated by Isaiah. So the Jews, it's hard to call Isaiah a prophet, which they do. He's one of the key prophets with Hebrew history. But yet they omit Isaiah 53, and who described Christ. And so when Christ died on the cross and was resurrected, he became the sacrificial lamb, so you no longer need the temple.
Yeah.
So, okay. But the Jews are going to rebuild the temple, and that starts potentially in 2024, and they're building it because they're waiting for the return of Messiah. But the Hebrews, by the Pharisees of the Jews nation itself, was lied to by all the Pharisees that Christ wasn't Messiah. And so what ends up happening is that they build a temple only to have the temple desecrated by Antichrist. And they find out that what he just did, he calls himself the great I am. They end up fleeing to the mountains because they realized that the temple was built for Antichrist. And so the temple in the very end actually ends up being destroyed anyways for the third and final time. And then God brings his heaven to earth. Yeah. And so that's the story in a nutshell when you look at it, in relation to the temple. And we talk about on page 26, Sharia law. Well, Sharia and Islam is going to be directly tied in with, because we need to love one another. We need to bring in Sharia law, because we need to bring the Muslims. We need to bring the Muslims, and the Muslims and bring in Sharia law. Look what's happening to Europe right now. And so, Sharia law basically says you kill anybody and everybody who, doesn't believe in Allah. And that's basically ties back into your question about the mark of the beast, Greg, and not being able to buy and sell. So you have to renounce Christ to get at the mark, whatever the mark may or may not be at the time. But the bottom line is it's directly, no one knows what the mark directly is, but it's directly related to renouncing Christ, Jesus, as Messiah.
Don't renounce Christ.
And exactly. So that relates directly to the mark of the beast. Page 27 is the billion soul harvest, which sounds like a big number, but really is only 14% of the world population. But bottom line is, you need to choose which side of the fence you're standing on. God, Christ, versus the evil one. And this is what's happening, where the gray goes away, and we're going to see further separation, and all we're going to see is more black and more white, more good and more evil on this earth. And then we get into the 28, which be the page 28, the arks of safety. So let me describe what I wrote about them. But basically, some of these are God's words too, but they're beautiful sanctuaries in the mountains to be built and used as safe zones during the time of the coming storm, the tribulation, which would be the last 3.5 years, when food will be scarce, as it was during the Joseph time. Okay, so that's the time of famine. So arks will be built. And how are we going to build these arks? It's very simple. People say silver's heavy. I say silver's heavy at $20 an ounce. I say silver is really light at $1,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
So how will the arks be built? With God's money, because God raises his money to extraordinary values, allowing his church choices to separate from evil, choices to go into what's behind me, the mountains, choices to be separate from what is coming upon this earth. So the safe zones, and it says further within the Bible, and in this place I will give peace, says the Lord of hosts. The arks of safety will be safe zones for God's church, Jesus' bride, in preparation for the post-tribulation rapture that is then to be followed by fire upon the earth. So before fire comes down on the earth, meaning meteors and just really chaos, before the fire comes down from the sky, God's church will be raptured. In closing, or almost in closing, page 29, what do? I tell you again, Daniel's timeline is unbreakable. God's promise is unbreakable. God's plan is unbreakable. God wrote his plan 6,000 years ago. God gave his plan to Daniel. I am further expanding upon what Daniel gave to tell you that you are not changing what's coming. You can only prepare. If you know a train's going to hit you, get off the tracks. I'm telling you a train is coming. Prepare. Get off the tracks. How do you prepare? The most important thing is faith in Christ, number one. Number two is food and water. And number three, I hope you've been doing this already, is gold and silver, and yes, cryptocurrencies as well. So I hope that you have been preparing, because gold and silver are starting to go up, and you're starting to see my words of February are coming to pass. And more of what I'm saying is going to come to pass. Your time is limited, so prepare. And in closing, Greg, there's two key things that we must do as Christians or people on this earth, and we must pray, number one. And number two is we need to go to the polls. We need to bring anybody and everybody we know with us to the polls to make sure we elect to complete God's cycle with Trump as president for the second term. Those are the two things you must do. And I wanted to read this prayer here. Lord, call us to battle so that we may learn to fight on our knees, that we may open our eyes, so that we may see the truth and your truth, Lord, that we may proclaim you, Jesus, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Greg.
Bo Polny,
that is my presentation, Greg.
Listen, you also have some kind of you've done this before where you give this discount. The code is 49 for the gold report. It goes to August. I'll put the links in for gold. It's gold and silver, or just gold?
That's correct. So if your listeners are traders and they actually want to know the cycle for gold, or they want to know the cycle for cryptocurrencies, including several alternate coins we follow. So yes, as before, Greg, I will include a discount for a 14-day discount for your subscribers. They use the code USA49, and that reduces the $99 rate down to $49. They can see the accuracy of what we do for the next 2 weeks. We include within our gold turn dates, gold and silver cycles, rather fascinating. And we also include Bitcoin and the Bitcoin index, and then I think 8 or 9 other alternate coins. We have a lot of excitement coming here, Greg, into September.
Well, you just gave away the overall roadmap for free. I mean, you just said, here's what's going to happen until 2024 and beyond, and what the big dates are. And so if people just want to buy and hold it, I mean, they don't even have to trade it. You're saying buy now, and it's going to go way higher. The real bull market in silver and gold happens in 2021.
Yes, and that's again, so please listen back to my words, was very simple. If you're a trader, okay, yeah, cycles would be great for you.
You can make money on the volatility.
Right, volatility. But if you're just buy and hold, this is the analysis that I do is for traders. Aside from that, just buy precious metals, particularly silver.
And you don't sell anything.
Yes. I do not.
You do not sell any metal. You do not sell, and you've already given the big roadmap. So if you just want to buy wherever you feel like buying it, gold and silver, you can just buy it and hold it.
Absolutely, Greg. All I do is I provide a timing analysis. Many people who are traders absolutely love what I provide them because why? They're traders. Aside from that, if you're buying physical metals, just continue to buy physical metals. Yes, I sell nothing aside from my analysis, and only people that need my analysis are those who are trading and like to know highs and lows for volatility reasons. But aside from that, what I've done here, Greg, I spent hours to put this together. I did this on my own accord because I want to put a message out to the world. What is the message, Greg? The message is very simple. Times are at hand. You need to prepare. You don't have much time, and you have a choice right now in life to do something. Prepare or not prepare, but you need to choose. I know from my analysis, you've seen from my analysis, that it has been incredibly accurate this year, and next year is going to be even more spectacular. But every day that goes by, that's one day less, and we're not changing the future.
A big shaking in September is also another. Your near-term prediction is September is going to be a pivotal month.
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
Okay. And then the biggest choice you can make is for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I mean, that's the choice to make. Numero uno by a country mile.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
All right. All the links will be in the after the interview section. This 33-page PowerPoint, which is free, will be linked to in the after the interview section. There'll be if you're a trader, there'll be a discount for you. I'll link to that too, to those pages. Bo Polny Analyst Bo Polny, analyst of time, you say you are. You use biblical time analysis to lay out all this stuff. You've been freakishly correct, in a good way when I say freakishly. Bo Polny, thank you very much for joining us today on USA Watchdog and giving us all this free stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for having me on. I love you, and may God bless you and your wife.
Well, thank you very much, and you too. And thanks for joining us today on USA Watchdog.com. Again, Bo Polny, golds2020forecast.com is the website. Bo Polny is the analyst. Bo, thanks for joining us once again on USA Watchdog.com.